Welcome to the Pen and the Shank, another episode. We got my boy Jeff. He's back with us. He's going to hit us with another banger. And I wanted to ask you, Jeff, can you break down Louisiana Training Institution? We're going back probably mid-90s, I'm sure, when you went to LTI, which is for juveniles in Louisiana. Share with the people what the experience was from you getting your juvie time to getting up the road doing juvie time.
Well, let's see, juvie time, that's something serious, man. Of course, it was called Louisiana Training Institute, which is another politely word for saying juvenile state penitentiary. And in Louisiana at the time, there was three of them, three main state prisons. You had Scotlandville, which was in Baton Rouge, which they did all their reception and diagnostic through there, was intake. You had Bridge City, which is in Bridge City, Louisiana. And you had Monroe, which is in Monroe, Louisiana, man. And at the time we grew up in the 90s, man, which is a lot of gang era. So we had a lot of gang shit going on, and people catching charges left and right. So my first jokes I caught, I was 15, went up that road and let's see, I went to Scotlandville first, reception and diagnostic over there, stayed there. And then at that time they were building a fourth prison for gang members. And it was supposed to be some place where they turn your life around type shit. Everything but that. Straight chaotic hell, man. In fact, if you Google it, Tula Correctional Center for Youth, TCCY, it was rated the worst juvenile prison in the United States at one point in time. So fresh off the bus over there, my first day, a riot breaks out over there, and I get in a big old fight with somebody in op of mine, and shit's just crazy chaotic over there. If you didn't know how to fight, you're gonna fight every day in there. The guards, what they do is when they come on at nighttime, they got gambling cards made, who's gonna fight who. It's always a big dude against a small dude. And you gotta bang. You gotta bang. If you're not banging, they're gonna fuck over you. And even when you do bang, they'll fuck over you. But more or less so, man, if you don't fight. So if you didn't know how to fight, by the time you left that motherfucker, you knew how to fight. I can promise you that. And that's what they do. They gamble all day and against who's fighting who, and you catch the cut, and they, if you lose their money, they come and whoop you at night. They come and whoop you at night. Them guards are gonna fuck over you, bro. But it's definitely a chaotic place, man. This is where the worst of the worst juvenile offenders in the state of Louisiana was sent to, was Tula Correctional Center for Youth, which has now been shut down. And they actually reopened it years later as the women's prison for women inmates in the state of Louisiana. Think about lockdown units. Juveniles doing 23 in one lockdown. It's a breeding ground for a future criminal. That's all it is. It just teaches you how to be a more hardened criminal. Someone going through that type of stuff in life at the time, as a child, should never have to be put in a cell for 23 hours a day, abused like that. What do you think is going to happen to you after a while? You become a fucking animal or a monster, or a homosexual. You know what I'm saying? Either one of the two, and this is not an option for a lot of people, man. So it's a breeding ground to create. Bring the monster out of you, man, and become a better criminal. Upon discharge from that place, I did get out and try to change my life for a little while, but that behavior was still always inside of me. I didn't know how to deal with things except through violence or getting high. They don't teach you any coping mechanisms back there, coping skills back then. It's a money-making thing. That's all it is. So the juvenile reform system in Louisiana, I don't know what it's like now. There are programs now like the Juvenile Awareness Program where they teach the juveniles how to better themselves, how to get a job when they get out, teach them skills they need to learn to succeed in life. And there's zero tolerance now. The guards are not allowed to touch you, which is why you have what's going on in a lot of these places now. The inmates are taking over, man. These little dudes are taking over. They're young and they're wild. They know that people can't touch them, so it is what it is. So they're breaking jaws left and right in there. But there's a thing called the Juvenile Awareness Program. You could look into it in the state of Louisiana. It's to bring awareness to juveniles, man, and give them something to do with a positive outlook on life for when they do get out. We don't have a lot of community programs down here in New Orleans, which we need to start looking into and involving ourselves more. Because if you look around nowadays, you don't see anybody out here playing. When we was a kid, listen, when the sun come up, we hit the streets on our bikes. We ain't come back till dinner time. And we knew to come back at dinner time. You don't see anybody playing the streets anymore because you can't. there's so much shooting and killing and shit going on nowadays, in New Orleans especially. It's hard to let your child outside to play. But us, the parents, need to be more held accountable for more than what we do. It's up to us to reach out to our own children and teach them the ways we need to be taught and the ways they need to be taught in life to succeed and instill morals and values in their life. Because if you're just a piece of shit, just like your son's acting like, he's going to act like you act. You have to demonstrate a positive role model and behavior for your child. You know, give them something to go off of. Because if not, the only thing they got to go off of is the shit in the rap music right now, or shit they see on TV, which is all fictitious. At the end of the day, none of this shit means anything. I don't care how much money you have, how broke you are. At the end of the day, you could be a good person or a bad person. You have that choice to make, man, and that's it, bro. You really had the choice to make it yourself.
When you was in Tula and in LTI, how often did you see guards beat up juveniles?
Every day, man, every day.
Did you ever see guards held accountable during the 90s when you were in there?
Never.
For beating up juveniles?
Not one time, man. They did eventually later in 2000 when the class action lawsuit came through and they shut the place down. They started being held accountable, but not think anything happened to the guards. Just the people that owned the prisons at the time, private run prisons. They might have got sued, or they did get sued actually. But those guards just moved to the adult prison, and it's a repetitive cycle, the same thing. Right now, if you look up Madison Parish Detention Center, Tula, where they send state inmates for Louisiana, where they can't put them in state prisons, they put them over there. They're getting airlifted every week out of that place, bro. That place is wide open. It is, I'm talking about everybody's got world knives. Everybody's high on shit. And they live in the same, they don't go outside. So they live in the same dorm, 200-man dorm for years at a time with people and don't go outside. So tension's going to build up, man, you know?
Is it still juveniles?
No, it's all adults right now, bro.
When you did juvenile time and the guards made inmates fight against each other and the guards were betting on these fights, did you ever see the guards jump in those fights because they didn't like the results of the inmates fighting?
They wouldn't jump in, but when the fight's over, they're going to drag you into that mop closet and beat the fuck out you.
Let me ask you this question. You were in Tula when they had a riot that was on the local news and the state news. Can you share a little bit about that riot that happened in Tula with the juveniles? What kicked it off and what happened?
Well, what kicked it off was the beef between up north and down south. And that finally merged together, but everybody was tired of the guards, you know, putting hands on people and breaking people's jaws and flattening them out. So it all started off they got the east side and the west side back then. The west side, you know, it's pretty treacherous. The east side's pretty treacherous too, but, you know, not as bad as the west side. Well, it started off on the west side, and they started snatching guards up and cuffing them up and tying them up. And then eventually they took over the whole west side and got on top of the dormitories. And once we got word of that, it started happening on the east side too. And the same shit happened there, man. And everybody, just a big old gang fight broke out. If you had problems with people, shit got it in right then and there, man. After that, we eventually ended up on top of the dormitories and was up there for almost 36 hours. Most of us in our boxer shorts, man, and t-shirts. And they had news cameras flying around in helicopters filming us. But they ended up having to bring the National Guard in to come, you know, restore order into the prison. But being 15, 16 years old, man, some shit like that pops off, and you see the Army come in there, the National Guard come in there. You know, people say they wasn't scared, they're lying, because you know, that's a pretty scary experience for anybody to deal with, much less a child. But the place is pretty bad. I've seen people be raped in there, man. Beaten, raped. I get some bad memories of that place, man. I mean, if you wasn't a stand-up person, man, that couldn't handle your business, life was gonna be hell for you, bro. Life was gonna be hell for you. So it ended up being, you know, all right. But like I said, 2 years after I was released, they ended up shutting the prison down, and based on the new Prison Reform Act for juveniles, they changed a lot of ways, so these new kids wouldn't have to go through this. You gotta offer the right resources for adolescents at the time to succeed in life when they do get out. If not, they're just gonna end up back in prison, man, doing the same shit every day, man. You know.
Who was more deep in Tula? New Orleans area or Baton Rouge area, or was it Monroe? When that fight kicked off, you know, how did the fight kick off? Was it just all New Orleans against maybe Shreveport? How did that go?
So basically it was Shreveport and Monroe against New Orleans and Baton Rouge at the time. So it was the 225 and the 504 against the 318. And the country boys were deep, man, and they bang hard up there, man. They bang hard. Shout out to a lot of I got good partners from Shreveport, man. A lot of rolling 60s up there, man. Crips, a lot of Bloods out of Queensboro. And then you had your New Orleans thing, which was pretty much ward bangers, you know. We gang bang, so we still claimed the shit back then, but there's a lot of ward banging going. So New Orleans was pretty deep in there. They were actually pretty big. They had a dormitory called Indiana 9, and only people from New Orleans can go in that dorm. If they put somebody from 318 in there, they're gonna bush them. They're getting them out that quick. But like I said, man, it's things have changed over time. Thank God, man, because people need to come together, man, and stop the nonsense. We fighting over area codes and shit like that. It's fucking stupid, you know.
Yeah, and from what I understand, I'm assuming that the juveniles are probably still doing that today, huh?
Yeah, they are, pretty much. They are.
Even when they wind up to the state prisons where you just left from, you know, those youngsters still, you know, 18, 19, 20 years old, they probably still representing that even in the adult prison, I'm sure.
They do. Things are a little different now than adult prison. We all get along, but still there's that tension between up north and down south. And New Orleans is always going to be deep because it is what it is, man. I mean, but Shreveport is not a small city, but they're very big, and they hand out some fucking time in Shreveport, man. Check out Cato Parish, if you don't believe that.
That's true, man. Well, Jeff, thanks for being on the Pen and the Shank again. You know, the last time you did a video, you had a lot of positive feedback and a lot of people liked it. And we hope to have you again on the channel, man. Is there anything else you want to say to the members in the community before we shout it down?
Nah, just everybody hit that like button for Greg, and let's help get his page up and running and started. And if you're not a member, become a member, man. It's a good thing he's got going, and let's keep everything rolling.